we define what do we mean by young people. There is this external perception that young people are a homogeneous group. This is not the reality. We have also young people in vulnerable settings. We have young people with disabilities, and we have foremost young women.
But again, a population that is ill-skilled and unemployed can be a demographic curse. So this is the challenge, but the opportunity is in us trying to convert this demographic dividend into opportunities.
But also young people as being the largest population, they are our biggest asset.
Because the richness of nations is not in stones, but in its people.
It's never been more important to develop our youth into confident and transformational leaders that can...
Let's get settled, please. Should I use Solomon's strategy of count to 10 and everyone should be seated? Okay, 1,
2, 3. I still see people standing. If you're not, press. Let's sit down. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, I'm going to ask everybody who is taking pictures, let's postpone the picture opportunities to later because we need to start our session right now. We are a little bit behind in the schedule. I know our online audience is already with us, so let's get settled down. Everybody that's coming in, let's not block the entrance. Let's come in, sit down so that we can start this session as soon as possible. Thank you, thank you. Oh, Moses. I thought I was trying to do it.
Good morning, right? Good morning once again. If you are still outside, please come in and we start our next session. Kindly come in and we start our next session, which is going to be moderated by my very good friend Kim. And Moses. Hey. Kemi and Moses are going to moderate our afternoon, our next session. And so we invite our guests to take their seats. May I call this meeting to order. If you're still outside, please come in. We're going to talk about what?
Yes.
All right, may I ask everyone who is standing to please take their seats? The gentleman at the door, please. Could you please take your seats, please? Gentlemen at the door, please, could you take your seats, please? All right, I want to invite Kemi to come and take over the second session. You're welcome, Kemi.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, everyone, for settling down. Okay, I'm giving it another 10 seconds. Let's all settle down. I don't want to leave anybody behind. Welcome back from the break. I think what we can do as we give it another 10 seconds for everyone to settle down is just get the energy back up. In the morning, I feel like the moderators were not getting 100 from you guys, and I know we've eaten. I don't want that food to then settle, and then we are in sleepy mode, okay? So we're going to try this again, but this time I'll give you the prompts. When I say, let me first teach you one Swahili word, tuko. Tuko means we are here, okay? So when I say you lead, you say tuko. And like for real, not for these things of Tuko, because we're in Switzerland. No, for real. When I say you lead, you say, you lead, you lead, you lead. Let's try that again. I feel like I'm not getting 100 from you guys. When I say you lead, you say? Hey, so now we are going from 70, we are going to 30. What is the problem? Let me hope that that has gotten you a little bit up there. All right, I see we are settled, so we're going to start. Now, welcome once again to day 2 of the ULEAD Summit 2021. We are very excited to have you all join us. Young people, leaders, we are very, very glad that you are able to come and spend some time with us as we have relevant conversations that affect young people across the continent. All right, so this session that we are having is called the Under 40 Business Leaders Forum. And we have all right, sorry about that. This is the Under 40 Business Leaders Forum, and we are going to have a discussion about how the young people of Africa can make the AfCFTA magic happen, okay? And if you are like me, and it took you a month to learn how to say AfCFTA, it's fine, you're not alone. It is quite a mouthful. All right, now I do want to recognize some very important people who have come to spend this session with us. We have with us Dr. Halima Noor from AfCFTA Secretariat. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. And Mr. Paul Okech, Special Assistant to the Secretary General, AfCFTA Secretariat. Thank you for coming to spend this time with us, to give the young people your ear as we discuss this very wide, very impactful topic. Now, my name is Fiona Kemigisha. I am the digital content lead at ULEAD Africa, and I have the privilege of co-moderating this session with my colleague. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Moses Kanyes J, and I coordinate youth in business, trade, and enterprise in Africa. Welcome, our dear panelists and contributors.
Okay, thank you, Moses. Now we have a panel of experienced, diverse experts from across the continent who are going to guide us in this conversation about the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. And I'm just going to introduce each of them very briefly so that you know who we have with us. We have with us Mr. John Bosco Kalisa, the Executive Director, East African Business Council. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Ms. But we are going to give them some more this one, eh? Okay, please now do this one. Mr. John Bosco Kalisa, the Chief Executive Director. Very good. Yes, let's appreciate the people who are spending time with us. All right, we have Ms. Leah Nduwati, the co-founder of Kenya Trade Expo. We also have with us Mr. Diego Twahirwa, Managing Director, Gashora Farms. Mr. Olusegun Olutayo, Lead Expert, Trade Enablement National Action Committee of AfCFTA Nigeria. We also have with us Dr. Tokmor Chidede, Investment Expert, AfCFTA Secretariat. Mr. Joseph Manira Chiza, Program Manager, Fungo Innovation Program, UNDP. Ms. Flavia Businje, Acting Director, Customs EAC Secretariat. And Mr. Tony Otoa, Chief Executive, Stanbic Business Incubator, Uganda. All right. I see we also have with us Amin Amor. Is Amin Amor joining us this? All right, perhaps not. Yes? She's here? No, okay. All right, so let's proceed. Apologies. All right, we also, apologies, I skipped a very important person. Ms. Tamara Busamba, the Chief Executive Officer, Agridis. Thank you. My apologies for that. All right, so this amazing panel is going to guide us in this discussion. I'd like us to start. I don't want to assume that everybody knows exactly what the AfCFTA is, or all those finer details. Sometimes we come into these spaces and you think, oh, because 80% know, everybody knows. So I'd like us to open with just figuring out what exactly is the AfCFTA, what are its objectives. And I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Olutayo. He did us the privilege, the honor of joining us for the boot camp that we recently concluded. And we'd like to hear what exactly is the AfCFTA for the person who doesn't really know what it is. And perhaps you can also share with us a little bit about the boot camp and what action points came from that.
Thank you very much for giving me the opening salvo. It's an honor. But before I delve into what actually transpires during the boot camp and then give you a kind of a summary brief of what AFCFTA is all about from the standpoint of my own deep knowledge of AfCFTA. There is something I would like all of us to do. Permit me, I'm going to break some protocol, and at the end of the day, you will appreciate it. For everyone that attended the boot camp, may I have your honor, with respect, please be on your feet. Everyone that attended the boot camp, please, may I have your honor? With respect, please be on your feet. If you don't mind, please can I quickly step closer to you and handle this section. Yeah, the reason why I said you guys should stand up, it is to celebrate you. It is to appreciate you. It is to let everyone know that you have gone through the crucible. And every one of you here remain ambassador of AfCFTA. More importantly, your arrival for that boot camp for this ULI Summit 2021. If you don't speak to anybody, there is somebody that I'm sure you spoke with. His name is Moses. And then the last section, Ivan, I was so happy with what you did. You called 2 of your lieutenants for us to celebrate them. It is interesting to know that today is Moses' birthday. Please be on your feet. So in 3, 5, 6 seconds, particularly the boot campers, we are going to sing happy birthday to Moses. Are we ready? Okay, on my count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. We celebrate you, Moses. We appreciate you. All you are doing in support, and of course, as Ivan, provide the leadership. All right, going through, please sit down, have your seat, please, all the boot campers. So in a straitjacket format, I'm going to read through what the faculty developed as a curriculum for the ULI 2021 boot camp. Day 1, we actually run through the road to AfCFTA, doing the chronicle from the Lagos Action Plan, Abuja Treaty, AU Action Plan on boosting intra-African trade, the Kigali Summit, the June 7th in Niamey, Niger, that give operationalization to AfCFTA. And that is the summit that launched 5 major initiatives. And then, of course, the Agenda 2063 that has 7 aspirations And then the sixth aspiration focuses on youth and women. I love that aspiration so much. And on day 2, we ran through the entire negotiation phase, the phase 1 that focuses on trade in goods protocol, and that of the services, and of course, the dispute settlement process and procedure. And going into the phase 2, which of course initially is supposed to focus on 3 items of investment, intellectual property, and competition policy. However, because of the exigence of time and of COVID, they have now fast forward the protocol on e-commerce. So these 4 elements were taken through, and the boot campers, they are on fire to divulge details of this to anyone that cares to engage them. And of course, on that day too, we also run through 2 critical articles that AfCFTA sits upon as of today. We look forward as the protocol will begin to unveil. There might be more articles, and that is Article 20 that talks about dispute settlement. And of course, Article 13. I love that Article 13 so much because that is one talks about rules of origin. Annex 2 of 42 chapters under trade in goods, which we call protocols in trade in goods. And on day 3, for the boot campers to have the feel of what we mean by trade facilitation. How do we enhance trade facilitation? Of course, by going by the multilateral rules, it says trade facilitation is actually on 2 items. 1, cost and time. So we proceed to Namanga border to see how one-stop border post has been able to practicalize between Kenya and Tanzania. Beautiful experience, beautiful engagement, and then the boot campers were able to see what we are saying in the class live at the border. And on day 5, we begin to run through the essence of regional integration. What is regional integration? How will it benefit Africa? As of today, we have 8 of them, which remain the foundation or the building block of AfCFTA. And then we begin to see a critical example of ECOWAS in terms of free movement, and of course, EAC, SADC, and the likes of the reg we have in Africa. And then on day 5 that we wrap up the boot camp, we actually let the boot campers know that regardless of what we are witnessing, there are impacts of AfCFTA vis-a-vis the COVID, vis-a-vis what AfCFTA brings on the table in terms of job creation, in terms of industrialization, in terms of how we are going to galvanize the raw materials and the resources within Africa. And finally, on that day, we begin to now talk about it's not enough to have agreement. It's not enough to have all the protocols, all the annexes, all the appendix, but much more. We are now talking about what I used to say, AfCFTA is nothing about but what I call implementation, implementation, implementation. Beautiful agreement, and then we reel out what AfCFTA Secretariat actually they are doing regarding AfCFTA implementation. Key to that is what we analyze for the boot campus, the export pathway. Export pathway speaks to 4 or 3 items. Number 1, investment. African country within investment, we need support. And secondly is production, in terms of production cost, in terms of access to all those things that require in the value chains of production. And of course, export compliance, which speaking to the issue of SPS, the issue of TBT, the packaging, the labeling. These are things that is under the core implementation of AfCFTA. And of course, transport logistics. No matter what you manufacture, you need to move it from point A to point B, and then you can have what we call market access. These are things we discuss regarding this subject matter. And finally, it's coming down to importation, and that is the access of goods into any state party. AfCFTA agreement recognize sees anyone that has signed, and then you have ratified, you are referred to as a state party. That is the language of the agreement. In closing, we now begin to engage all boot campers. Then tell us, Africa that you want. How do you see your own Africa? Is it Africa that has the entire route connected by railway? Or you are now saying the issue of airline becomes easier for everyone? Or you are seeing an Africa that the issue of non-tariff barrier comes down to zero or maybe reduced? And of course, are you seeing Africa whereby you can just wake up and say, I am going to Uganda and I don't need to pay visa on landing? These are the things that we ensure that we took all the boot campers through that particular of 5 days. And like I said, you can freely engage any one of them, and I'm sure you will be happy they have gone through AfCFTA 2021 You Lead Boot Camp. Finally, in closing, we let them know that it's not enough for you to come out and continue to talk about the problem. And then we conclude with a line of a great mind of Africa. And unfortunately, he was a youth among them. And then his name is Miwila Mbanga from Zambia. In his writing, please, Miwila, if you are here, please, on your feet, let's appreciate this young mind. Thank you, Miwila, for that line. In his word, he says, and I quote, problem is what? Is inevitable. However, we must be the solution, the inevitable solution to the inevitable problem. Thank you, Miwila. A round of applause for him once again. All right, to my question. If Africa will witness what we are envisaging, I listened attentively yesterday to all our policymakers, all our parliamentarians, and of course this morning, beautiful initiative. The only instrument that will put Africa to where it rightly belongs in the Committee of Nations is AfCFTA instrument. When you go through the agreement, I'm a proponent of that agreement. I love it so much. By privilege, I was part of the negotiation team from my country, Nigeria, under the late Chidu Osakwe. The Lord bless his memory. And then we argue, we debate, and we come to a clear understanding that if Africa will actually leapfrog in its economy, in all ramifications, it is the instrument of AfCFTA. And I want to encourage every one of us that we need to lay hold on this agreement as it is today and all the annexes. And then we begin to engage, we begin to get known to all these details. And I can assure you, AfCFTA, it is here to stay and becoming what we are all envisaging. I thank you. I know I will still have more time to contribute. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that great summary and also answering the question of what AfCFTA is. Now, something that we cannot not discuss is e-commerce. It's such an important, such a vital element when we talk about this agreement. And perhaps I can direct this to Ms. Busamba. E-commerce is, again, such an important part of the AfCFTA as it is envisioned. And when we think about that, things like consumer protection come up, things like registering online business. And I'd like to hear from you, how can the youth, because at the end of the day, we really want to know, how can the youth come into this? So how can the youth in Africa use technological innovation to drive the AfCFTA? And what kind of technological innovation, in fact, do we need to do that?
Thank you so much for the question. So I'm coming from a French-speaking country, so I'm more comfortable in French. And I would like to have a translator if it's possible. I have my own translator, Blondel. So Blondel, si tu peux venir, ce serait vraiment gentil. Il est où, Blondel? Il n'est pas là, ok. Okay, cool. So I will try my best. I think that African youth are already innovative. We have a lot of solutions in different African countries. The most important is to know how we can help these innovations expand, how we can help young people to really make this AfCFTA happen by creating an ecosystem that helps them to leverage financement, to have trainings, and to also have networks. There is different solution we can, sorry. Ah, Blondel, il est là. Ah, merci Blondel. Tu peux venir, s'il te plaît? Ok, cool. So, je disais que aujourd'hui, la jeunesse africaine est déjà très innovante et que le plus important, c'est de savoir comment est-ce qu'on peut aider ces solutions à devenir beaucoup plus grandes, à avoir beaucoup plus d'impact dans les communautés.
Today, the African youth is already a big community, and the most important will be to find out how to get them involved.
So, il y a beaucoup de solutions qu'on peut avoir concernant le e-commerce, que ce soit dans les mobile payments, le paiement, que ce soit dans les plateformes de vente en ligne, les plateformes, les applications mobiles, etc. Donc aujourd'hui, la jeunesse africaine a l'occasion de créer des solutions, que ce soit dans l'éducation, dans l'agriculture. Par exemple, pour moi, j'ai une application agricole qui connecte les agriculteurs directement au marché. Oui. Donc je dis qu'il y a beaucoup de possibilités dans tous les secteurs. Concernant le e-commerce, on a les plateformes, le développement de plateformes de vente en ligne, le développement de solutions digitales pour le paiement en ligne.
So there is a lot of possibility in e-commerce and development of platform online for youth.
Voilà, et donc pour moi, par exemple, dans le secteur agricole, étant donné que c'est dans ce secteur que j'évolue, on a créé une application agricole.
Since it's the sector where I'm working in, we have created an application.
Voilà, pour connecter les agriculteurs directement au marché.
To connect agriculture directly to their market.
Et donc c'est une solution qui a par exemple été soutenue par le gouvernement sur le plan du financement et sur le plan du mobile payment, parce que le gouvernement a créé une solution digitale pour faciliter les paiements mobiles.
It's a solution that have been supported by the government on the mobile payment because it offers a platform to facilitate mobile payment online.
Voilà, je pense que je vais m'arrêter là.
So I think I stop there.
All right. Thank you so much for that contribution. Let me ask, Blondel, please switch that off. Okay. As we each speak, we'll have to switch off and make sure so that we can avoid that, the feedback. Yeah, so let's just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I know Moses has something he wants to ask as well. Should I open for you to take it?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim. I think we can pass the question to Mr. Tayo about the e-commerce, on how will young entrepreneurs in Africa use technology innovation to drive CFTA.
Okay, thank you very much. Now on e-commerce, like I was trying to give a clear picture.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me just get you a proper mic so that one isn't working quite well. Let's try that again.
Can you hear me?
Let's give him a mic, please. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So like I was trying to say not too long, the issue of e-commerce. Now, first, before now, e-commerce has been something that is gaining currency in Africa. I use my country as a case study. As of today, we have all like 2 or 3 platforms, Jumia platform, and then Konga platform, whereas you can go ahead, make your order, and then it will be delivered to your door step. However, which is very, very key, is the fact that COVID is now something that we cannot shy away from, and that COVID has now increased the demand for many e-commerce platforms. And I think in the wisdom of AfCFTA Secretariat in Ghana, under the leadership of His Excellency, Wamkele Mene, is to the fact that let's see how we are going to fast forward the negotiation on e-commerce. The policymaker, trade expert, they are now saying, look, COVID is with us. We cannot shy away from it in terms of disruption of logistics, in terms of restrictions, in terms of all kinds of isolations. We need more of this e-commerce platform. Now, for the youth, here is an opportunity to now begin to now come up in your creativity, in your innovation, and then see how you are going to have more of this platform across Africa. And I like saying this. If you can go doing it alone, that is fine. But why not link up with an IT expert in Abuja, in Lagos? In Lagos now we have a place called Yaba. Now when you get to this small suburb, you will marvel how young Nigerians are developing all kinds of apps, all kinds of e-commerce, all kinds of technology platform. So these are the area the youth can begin to see how they become creative, how they become innovative, and then how they begin to see how they will synergize. If you can do it yourself, like I said, that's fine, but I will encourage you. Collaborate with somebody in Uganda. Collaborate with somebody in Tanzania. The 3 of you can now form a company. And then you begin to operate by that. And then before you know what is happening, you are employing not even 10, not even 15. The guy that, developed Jumia today, let me use the local parlance that we used to say in Nigeria, he's a big boy. And he's a youth. He's a youth. But today he's employing more than 250. More than 250. So these are things AfCFTA provide for us. And like I said, thank goodness, the protocol will soon be negotiated for. And then we now have a detailed understanding when we have this protocol. So preparing for this, it is very critical. I stop for now. I thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Ottawa would like to make a response. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to sound a little bit controversial. You know, my problem a lot of the time is we have all these protocols, all these agreements, but when it comes to reality, there's a big issue. Now, we're talking about e-commerce, and we're talking about the youth, and this is something that we're not really addressing massively. In Uganda, you have 12% on the internet. You have Facebook down. In Nigeria, you had Twitter shut down because of politics a few months ago. Lots of young people use those platforms to sell their goods, to showcase themselves, to showcase their creativity. My question is, and probably I'll throw this back to my brother, can we go beyond these agreements to use that as a force to go to these governments and say, young people need to express themselves and do business online? You know, I like these events. They're great. But I come from an entrepreneur, situation where I deal with entrepreneurs every single day. And the guy is simply saying, it's very expensive for me to maintain a website, for instance, because not very many people will actually come to it because it's expensive to be on the internet every day. We had the OTT tax in Uganda, over-the-top tax. Many young people had to go through VPN to be able to access the internet or access certain sites. The thing about that is that when you're using VPN and you're talking about e-commerce, your commerce is compromised because anyone can easily hack into your financials. Why can't we have those critical conversations? And I think that is where I want us to start from. Thank you.
Perhaps we'll make it a bit brief.
Yes, of course. In as much, I like my brother and friend, trying sounding controversial, but then for me, it is not controversial. Yeah, you see, maybe we are Africans, and then we are in Africa. You know, there is a proverb that our elders bequeathed to some of us, that there is no way a thread will be long and long and long. It has a source. It has a source. Now, the issue, two things I heard you, said is to the fact that one, yes, Twitter was shut down in Nigeria, but there was a reason. It's not enough to say you have all this platform, and then their excesses and abuses to the sovereignty of a nation should be condoned. Never. It is not only Nigeria that has shut down Twitter. Russia shut down Twitter. France shut down Twitter. It's on record. You can Google it. So, and now they have apologized by infringing on the sovereignty of my country, and then Twitter is back. That's one. Two, I would still argue strongly that having protocols on e-commerce is the way to go. We are not looking at a country. We are looking at the whole Africa. And then to having that protocol, which of course will now bring people like you on the table. The youth here on the table. Somebody like me, if I'm privileged, on the table. And then we argue from every side. And I can tell you, as long as the negotiation of this protocol is about to commence, in a small way, and I have to say it, His Excellency, the Secretary General, we are friends in Geneva. I know what he can do. I trust his leadership, and I can guarantee he will deliver on this protocol for the benefit of all Africa. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that opened up a very interesting subtopic of this topic, and I'm sure the audience is itching to get into that. But before we get there, we want to talk about a couple of other things. I'd like to talk about payment systems. Actually, I think I'd like to direct this to Tony because you work in that space, bank, associated in that kind of area. So obviously, payment is going in the direction of electronic, although to be fair, there are so many places where cash is still the primary form of transactions. And as we are moving into this AfCFTA, this AfCFTA that we want, for Africa, what is that going to look like realistically? We hear this talk about a common currency, and it sounds good, but I feel like I don't know if it's just me. Do you wonder what that actually looks like, guys? Do you wonder about that? I've often wondered, what would that actually look like in real life? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the payment system and what that would realistically be like for Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello? You can hear me, huh? Okay, so first and foremost, I want us to also think about the reality. When you think about most of the payment solution companies, yeah? I think, okay, this is better. Okay, so when you think about the African solution companies, payment solution companies that are actually coming out big, most of them are actually flourishing abroad. Doesn't it shock us? A lot of them have now gone abroad. We had a Ugandan company called Cheaper Cash, flourishing in the US. We talked to a guy yesterday on our Twitter Spaces. He's based in the US as well, doing the same. My question is, the need for us to have payment solutions is so evident in Africa. I want to be like the Kenyans, and I applaud the Kenyans for their digital game. They've really gone far. In Kenya, all you need is just your mobile phone, and you will do so many things. I'm still struggling to do that around Arusha. I'm still struggling to do that in my village in Lira. But why is that the case? Is it a paradigm shift, or is it an issue of mindset, which I think is not? We're ready to embrace these things with a lot of digitization. The young people, I believe my brother with his farm is digitizing a lot of processes in terms of his input and everything. All of these have to have seamless payment solutions and systems. But are we, again, back to my simple question, are we enabling the young people to have the right environment to do these things? Or do they have to run to the US or the UK or the EU to then come back to Africa to work on us or show us these solutions? I want us to own these solutions fully. Let's provide the funding and the financial rounds or hackathons and all of these things in Africa, for Africa. Those are the conversations that I think we need to explore. Further to this, I think, is the fact that if you think about your mama mboga today, you should be able to transact with her seamlessly from your home. From your home, on your phone, through a certain payment, Mama Mboga dispatches using a boda boda right at your doorstep. These things are possible. But again, back to my question of if you're giving me 12% internet tax, how am I going to make this a quick revolution in Africa? I think those are the pertinent questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Mr. Tony, what solutions are you suggesting?
The solutions I'm suggesting is lower internet costs. Create more entrepreneurial and internet hubs that can include a lot of young people in developing these solutions. Let's not just talk about them at conferences and say we have empowered the young people. That's very crucial. I deal with so many young innovators, and I'll tell you one thing. They're not looking for your money and your grants. They're just saying, give us the right space to thrive. Can we provide that? That's the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tony, and thank you, Mr. Tayo. Let's shift the conversation to this side, but first of all, thank you for birthday wishes. This is my best birthday when we are discussing about business. The heart of CFTA lies on value chains, and the products, the finished products that we are consuming, they have raw materials. The planes, the cars, the bicycles that we're driving, all products are not made in one country. So this question goes to Mr. Diego Twahirwa. You can even call him Chiri Man, the man who is doing chiri, who is exporting chiri. Looking at CFTA, how can value chain of chiri accommodate more youth? When we had a bilateral discussion, your problem is supply. The market you have, but the problem is supply. These people that are here, young entrepreneurs, how can we involve them to help you in supply chain?
Thank you, Moses, for the good question. I think one of the MC in the morning did a good introduction where I called up for the farmers here in the room. And I'm sure all of them, most of them were in the fresh produce. And you know how fresh produce are, most of them, perishable. And the big question or the issue that we have is getting the sustainable and reliable market. And we are lucky to have a big demand and sustainable market for them. So with the CFTA, that means like we are open. It's not only, I'm not going only to consider Rwanda as a source of the production or supply. It's open for everyone. Like I was lucky to get a big demand to supply chili to China. And when I signed the contract, everyone said like, how are you going to be able to meet this commitment you're signing? But for me, because I was exposed enough and I know how the order for India or China, it was nothing. And the way they consider Africa as one country, is that I was looking in that framework where I said now, this order is not only for me, it's not only for Rwanda, it's for Africa. And now with this CFTA program, it's going to ease the transaction and also even the move of people, like for the skills sharing. And for me, I had started this on my own, where I was expanding to DRC, to Zimbabwe. Now, with this framework, it's going to accommodate more young youth across Africa.
If I can chip in, before supply, what motivated you to start Chile? How did you reach China? How can I reach Japan? I am not competing with you, but I'm motivating someone who came. For you, how did you get that deal? What motivated you? How did you start? Like in the morning, you're dreaming. In the evening, you are starting Chile. In the evening, you're exporting to China. You can motivate someone. What motivated you?
Yeah, thank you. For me, I was lucky because I studied agriculture, economics, and agribusiness. So I was aware on opportunity in the sector. And also, I was lucky to get a job in agriculture firm. So after working for 3 months, I said, why can't I venture myself in the business, agribusiness? So I started with tomatoes and other fruits for the local market. And the main issue I had was to get the sustainable market, because when you are dealing with perishable goods and you don't have a signed contract with the off-taker, the risk is sometimes you supply when there's high supply and you lose even your investment. So, and I was frustrated much that I had to start now to look how I can get the contract agreement before putting the seeds in the soil. So, and the way I did this is by attending the local exhibition, talking about agriculture. I met an exporter who was doing export of fresh chili to Europe. He gave me a contract. I started by supplying him. After going to Chile, because the guy was exporting chili, and when I went to Chile, I saw that there is a very huge opportunity for Africa, because chili is a labor-intensive crop. You can compete with anyone in the world, because Africa, we are the one having the affordable labor. And also, it has high demand globally, because I can say for the dry chili, we have about 5 billion tons demand. And the current supply is about 3 billion tons. So that means there's a huge gap. And these countries, like Asian country, although I started by supplying fresh chili also to Europe, and are still doing the same, but looking at the gap of the chili in the world, and that also these Asian countries, who are the number one producer in the world, they have this time where there's the weather doesn't allow them to produce the chili the whole year round. Yet for us in Africa, or in East Africa, because where I'm operating, we can produce the chili all the way, like the whole year. That means that what motivated me to go into Chile, because I've seen area of expansion, and also I could see the competitive advantage of my country and also for African countries.
Thank you. It's a follow-up question, and it goes to Joseph, Mr. Joseph and Leah. UNDP always supports young innovators, especially those who have market, those who don't have capital. We have Mr. Diego saying his problem is supply. Leah, you started Expo between Kenya and Ghana. How can you bridge the gap? According to the study by Visa International, young entrepreneurs are good innovators, but they don't have capital. Old people have capital. The problem is to bridge the gap. How can you chip in to help Tanzania outgrowers to supply Diego?
Thanks, Moses. That's a very good question. And once again, happy birthday. All right. I think that's a very pertinent question to have just raised. And maybe just to talk about probably UNDP, what it does, that there's so many other things that UNDP does, but just zooming into what I'm currently doing, we have a program that has just started, which actually deals with innovation and looking at how we can unlock the financing for startups, starting from Tanzania. And what we are looking at is more a bit much wider, just look at one sector. So we are looking at, the key motivation was basically that there are so many young people that are starting their businesses. They are having hard time accessing to capital because the banks we have probably were not created just to deal with how they have to ask for collateral and physical presence, all that young people don't have, but they have great idea that can go to market. So we're looking at how can we be able to actually help in that area. But at the same time, the same startups that are starting, they also need access to skills, to mentorship. That's why we are working with innovation hubs and all these mentors who can be able to work with them. But on top of it is actually what I think my friend was discussing about the enabling environment, because we can have all the money we need in Africa, we can have all the skills we want, but if we don't have the right regulatory framework that actually understands what the innovative startups actually need, it's not going to go anywhere. So that's why I think the initiatives like the one that we're managing right now, Funguo, would look at how can we probably reach out to this particular demand, which is lacking probably in supply, and probably go beyond that to see what actually causing this supply not to be enough. Probably there are some of the policies, let's say in Tanzania, which are stopping the young people to be able to link up with someone who is in Rwanda. The issue of the cross-border kind of business, we talk about it, and I'm glad that we are having someone who is very engaged in this AfCFTA, because sometimes we talk about these big things, as my brother for Uganda said, but when it comes to implementation on the ground, especially at the national level, you find that there's probably a law which probably was enacted during the colonial times, which is still being applied right now, which doesn't allow like that young person in, let's say, in Arusha or Moshi to be able to sell to Kenya or Rwanda or somewhere within Rwanda. So I think that's why we need to start, that we know that we need access to finance. Maybe initiatives like these are coming up with that. But let's also start with unlocking this kind of environment which are not enabling the young people to be able to engage. And this goes all the way to infrastructure. Yesterday, I think we talked about somebody who came from Mauritania who had to go through 3 countries to get to Tanzania. So if we are talking about e-commerce, which also is supposed to be backed up with infrastructure, with mobility and everything, how are we going to be able to read that? So it's a good thing that we're having these kinds of conversation. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Moses. So yes, I'm the founder of the Kenya Trade Expo in Ghana, and that was founded long before the AfCFTA conversation started. And a lot of conversations were had, there were agreements signed, and then they were put on the shelf. And I was waiting as a Kenyan living in Ghana who buys milk from France, yet we produce milk in Kenya. I was waiting to see what are the business people going to do, because there are some trade agreements there, but nobody was doing anything. So I had to go push as Leah with no title. I had to break all protocols. Today we're observing a lot of protocols. I had to break all protocols, knock all doors. I had to force a minister to come with me to Kenya. And then I had to tell the Kenyans a minister is coming. So now the Kenyan government had to organize itself. So today I'm here to say it's not time for conversation anymore. It's just time for action. So I'm going to give some assignments. I would like the East Africa Youth Council ambassadors to come to the front. And I believe today also there was unleashed Independent Youth Advisory Council. Please, could you come to the center here? We are waiting for you. I believe East Africa.
Seba, you know how to run, you can run.
All the youth ambassadors representing, and then also the Youth Advisory Council on the AfCFTA Independent. Please, you can take a stand here. So like my colleague from Stanbic Incubator mentioned, isn't it funny that I can go on Jumia and buy Ghanaian products? Isn't it funny that I can also buy goods from China, from a guy in China who has never stepped into Africa? I can buy a product on Jumia from them. But I cannot buy a product on Jumia from Kenya while I'm in Ghana. I cannot buy a product from Jumia on any other platform. So I expect you guys to engage Jumia and find out what is the challenge that I'm not able to buy from Ghana, I'm not able to buy from South Africa on Jumia, which is across all these countries. They've already sorted the e-commerce platform. Nobody needs to go and develop a new e-commerce platform. It's already there. We need to upload our products there. I need to sit in Ghana and upload this there. And somebody needs to sit in Gabon and be able to buy from us. Okay? So your assignment, number 1, to talk to Jumia and find out why can't African companies post there. Number 2, we've mentioned that everybody is doing business on Instagram, on Facebook. Instagram has something called Instagram Shop, where anybody can sell on, but it's not available in Africa. Why? Why can't African businesses use Instagram Shop? So you guys here, write to Instagram and make sure that by the time we are coming for the next summit, all businesses are able to upload on Instagram Shop, and we are able to make payments through Instagram Shop and buy through Instagram Shop. Number 3, do you know Elsa Majimbo? Yes. She was making funny videos on Instagram. Now she's modeling for all the big brands, okay? There is a model in the village who does not have access to internet, and we've talked about it right now, who, if they had that access to internet, first of all, they could have skills. We're talking about skills here, skills here, skills here. All you need to do is go on YouTube, and you'll get all the skills you need. We're talking about education. All the videos are there. All the courses are there. So please, can we make internet accessible? So you are our ambassadors. You need to go and talk to ESC here. You need to go and talk to the government and say, the youth need access to internet. We need access to internet. We need access to digitalization. Everybody in the village, somebody is fishing in the village. They could fish, post a picture of their fish doing funny things. Before you know, they are Trevor Noah. Do you understand us? So you are not doing the right thing right now. You are trying, but you need to push more, okay? The last assignment, this is number 4. So you have 4 assignments. I hope somebody is taking notes. Because if Moses invites me next year, and first of all does not give me a business class ticket, and then I come here, and nothing has happened. So number 4, you cannot make change in Africa if you don't travel Africa. The old people have traveled their own. We need to travel Africa. There are people making money on YouTube, going to make videos about nice places they've traveled to, blah, blah, blah. They monetize their YouTube page, they're making money. You can go and look, all those travel bloggers. Why don't we have enough African travel bloggers making money from YouTube? Travel needs to be cheap. You need to write to the airlines. You need to write to Ethiopia, you need to write to Kenya Airways, you need to write to all those people and let them know that if somebody is carrying a passport, an African passport, and they're below a certain age, they should get a certain discount. You guys need to negotiate for us. You need to negotiate for us. Do you understand? You need to negotiate for us. When I brought a minister to Kenya, I went and told him, I'm taking you to Kenya. He said, okay, I need 4 business class tickets. I said, okay, I'll get you the business class tickets. I went to Kenya Airways. I'm taking a minister to Kenya. I'm going to put a minister on your aeroplane. You're going to be popular. Kenya Airways said no to me. They said no. I had to find money to pay for 4 business class tickets to take this minister to Kenya, because I knew if I don't take this minister to Kenya, my Kenya Expo will not be taken seriously. Do you know Kenya Airways bumped the minister off the flight? I'm not afraid to say it here, they know. They bumped the minister off the flight. On top of not giving me a ticket, they bumped him off the flight so that he could not fly on the same night. So the next day, when he was supposed to be giving a speech at the ambassador's residence in Kenya, the Ghanaian ambassador's residence, he was not there. I made noise, I made calls. Do you know who was calling me now? The CEO of Kenya Airways, to ask me how can I support you when you did not support me when I told you before. So you have to make the move, and then they will come. AfCFTA is not going to wait for us. It's just a document. It's just a document. So we have to make it come alive. And so you have 4 assignments. Please go and represent us.
What can I add on? What can I add on? I was much involved in bringing this boot campus in Arusha, but I know how expensive it is. I think now, the good thing, we have someone who sits at AfCFTA Secretariat, And he carried the whole of Secretariat here. So we have a lot of questions to answer. Dr. Tokmo. About the youth agenda. You've heard about RIA, you have heard about other. I think you wanted also to comment about e-commerce, you can comment, but we did a strategy, we did a research, about Continental Free Trade Agreement, and I think the report will be launched today afternoon. And one of the key findings was information deficit. Even when we had our bootcamp training, it was about information deficit. How, to what extent are youth are involved in the initial stages of CFTA negotiation and consultation? And when we look at current documents, youth are nowhere. They are not mentioned anywhere. And we are saying you are saying we are the majority, 80%, 75%. But the document doesn't mention the youth. What are the strategies to adopt for youth to be fully involved to develop youth protocols under CFTA?
Thank you very much, Moses. Let me first start by mentioning that the document, the AfCFTA agreement, it mentions the youth in Article 27D of the Protocol on Trading Services. But the fact that it mentions the youth once, it doesn't mean that the document or the project is not for the young people. I just want to mention a few provisions or a few legal instruments within the agreement itself. So it's no longer called the protocol on e-commerce, it's the protocol on digital trade. That's what we are trying to do right now because it's more broad. So we are trying to enable digital trade across border within the African continental free trade area. What we have also realized is, I think we got this lesson from the COVID-19 that we need to, since we do have the digital literacy, especially among the young people, we need to enable that, to leverage that to the benefit, and we stand at a better position to benefit, to support the benefits and the opportunities of the AfCFTA that we are talking about. So now it's called the Digital Trade Protocol, and it has been fast-tracked. We are now negotiating it under phase 2 issues. Then I also want to mention the protocol on intellectual property rights. We are talking of innovation. Young people are at the forefront of innovation. But if we don't protect their innovations, they are not going to do anything. So we have a protocol on intellectual property rights that is going to promote and protect the innovations of the young people. In terms of the strategies that we are also doing as the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, so we are an institution that has been established to coordinate, facilitate the negotiations and the implementation of the AfCFTA. So I just want to highlight a few things that we are doing, and also we are making sure that the youth are involved. I want to reiterate what the minister from Rwanda mentioned, that it is true. His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, his priority is to ensure that the young people are driving this AfCFTA. So we are putting quite a number of strategies at the AfCFTA to ensure that the youth are involved not only in the negotiations, but as well as in the implementation. So what we are doing, since the process of negotiation is member state driven, we are working with the member states, we are working with the regional economic community, since they are the building blocks of the AfCFTA, and we want to ensure that moving forward, the AfCFTA processes are more inclusive. Since the youth are the key stakeholders of this project, they need to be in the process. And I want to mention about implementation. I think this is something that we all agree, that the problem that we have as a continent is not the absence of policies. We do have good policies. Where we are lacking is the implementation. And us as the AfCFTA Secretariat, we are trying to make it, to make a difference, to ensure that this agreement is not to be one of those good policies that is going to be shelved, that is going to exist on the internet, and it is good for academic purposes only. We are ensuring that and implementation happens at the national level. So for this agreement to be successful, these opportunities, they need to be translated. Let me just wrap up. They need to be translated and contextualized in domestic realities. And what we are doing now is we are emphasizing the establishment of AfCFTA offices, country offices that will continue the engagement with the locals, including the youth, in terms of how can we best implement this agreement. And I'm happy to mention that I'm so excited to hear that there's going to be, as one of the outcomes of this summit, there's going to be an advisory council, a Continental advisory council, because one of the problems that we normally face when we're dealing with stakeholders is you don't know who to work with because they are working in silos. So if we have a continental body that is representing all the countries and all the regional, then it becomes easier for us to work with those people. And I also want to mention that I hear that there's going to be a declaration that is going to be adopted by this summit on the agenda for the youth to be included in the AfCFTA, and I'm happy to mention that I will take it to His Excellency. He will be so excited to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think I like where we are going because it feels that I feel that because you all come from different places, but you're connected, you get to hear each other's voices, and then we can have better outcomes for everybody. Because if we have people who are closer to policy and people who are closer to the actual entrepreneurial side, you know, all of that I think is bringing us to actualization, so that we can get away from the paper that everyone is talking about. That's not just papers, papers and more papers and no action. All right, so I'd like to talk a little bit about trade facilitation. Border management obviously is such a big thing when we talk about this vision of AfCFTA. And perhaps I can direct this to Leah. In what way can African youth be involved in the development of processes, in the development of innovations that can ease border management? I know that Mr. Olutayo talked about the boot campers visiting Namanga and, you know, what's going on there with the one-stop border posts. But let me let Leah first tell us a little bit about what she thinks and how the youth can meaningfully participate in easing that process.
Thank you very much. So I think in terms of easing processes, the main thing is technology. So we need to get into technological innovation. Since 2021, companies have invested, or let's say investors have thrown $940 million into technology companies in Africa. So technology is the way to go. You have so many angles. You have the logistics. I had Claire this morning mentioning tracking. You have tracking, you need to do tracking. Then you need to do apps that make it easy for us to monitor what is coming through the borders, for making the border processes simple. For example, in West Africa, we have the common external tariffs, so it's easy to push products across. So what we need now is the technological plug-in. So insurance, cybersecurity, Bitcoin, logistics, education. So what we need now is technology. And in terms of education, we could have a simple app that enables, for example, the border patrol guys or the immigration guys to learn how to use the system and to use the system effectively. So right now, it also promotes transparency. We have a lot of challenge with transparency at the borders. We also have a challenge where if I'm taking a bus from Accra to Nigeria, I'll pay almost double what I paid in transport at so many security stops. So how can we here come up with technology that overcomes those challenges? There's no other way, because already through AfCFTA, we are going to have the reduced tariffs, which was a big challenge when it came to trade. So if the tariffs are going to be reduced, the next thing is ease of access, ease of movement, and seamless border transactions and border movements. So what I can say now is the opportunity lies in technology, and it's easy to duplicate. So if it works across Namanga border, it will work across Ghana-Nigeria border. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. So tech, guys, that is where we are going. If that is your field, don't sit on it, because clearly we need technology to make all of these things move along. I'm going to just pass it on to Moses so that you can guide the conversation on the AfCFTA youth agenda.
Thank you. Before I go there, let me invite Flavia, because Flavia is acting director customs. You deal more with border management. And there is a language about border management, one-stop border post, I don't know. So if you can firm up on what Leah has said, then also on how, how youth can be fully engaged, involved to develop youth protocols under CFTA. Then we can end up with JB. Then we have questions from our audience.
Thank you so much, Moses. Actually, I appreciate the panelists who have been discussing these issues. But mainly, if I would supplement on what Leah just mentioned, we have to, first of all, simplify the procedures that we have in place. We know that customs is the face of a country. If you are coming with goods and you need to enter a specific country, you must, by all means, fulfill the requirements that are needed for that consignment to proceed. So as a policy maker, I'm supposed to precisely make it easy for everyone who is transacting within the community or the continent. So I will have to undertake comprehensive simplification of documents. I can give an example of what we are doing in this African community. Initially, a trader would make 5 entries to cross over from the first point of entry to the destination country. Currently, you just make a single entry from, for example, Mombasa or Dar es Salaam until the consignment is delivered in Burundi as the last destination. So it is a matter of simplification. She talked about technology. We have embraced ICT. We've been able to interconnect our custom systems so that they can easily talk to each other. So if I lodge an entry from Kenya, a Burundian customs officer is able to see what is within, what is contained in the entry. So it's about simplification, it's about technology, and it's about sensitization. I can just talk about sensitization in brief, whereby we need to actually make sure that every single step we take is known to the users. Sometimes there's a problem of information dispatch. It is important that whatever is done at policy level is disseminated to the users or to the beneficiaries. So I will lightly touch on the informal sector that we have, where actually most of the youth and women are involved. I believe that as a continent and as a region, we need to work on informal sector. How do we do this? If I am a big player in manufacturing, for example, there is that one person who is just starting a manufacturing plant, but because he or she does not know the requirements, I will have to engage this person, this small trader, and probably buy from the trader. So from the fact that I am coming to you as an informal sector, I will indirectly formalize you because you'll be required to have an identification number, a tax identification number, for you to trade with me, isn't it? So this is something that the youth should also think about in terms of trying to think, not to think that if I am manufacturing a sweet or I'm dealing in sweets, I will not be able to sell this sweet to Ghana. No. I need to have information flow. I need to interconnect. We are having youth ambassadors here. How can we, as policymakers, formalize the forums, the different forums that we have, so that we can be able to exchange information that leads to market knowledge. If I don't know who needs what, I will not be able to sell. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Flavia. Let me, I think, end with JB about awareness and mobilization strategy. I know before joining ABC, you are working with Trademark East Africa, which engages more of SMEs. What strategies ABC have in place to involve SMEs in driving and fully implement CFTA?
Thank you very much, Moses. Again, I want to thank the organizers of this exciting session where we are engaging into the discussion of pertinent issues pertaining to CFTA. Maybe before I talk about sensitization and awareness, just two quick observations and the takeaway for the youth who are here in business. I really appreciate what Leia and Tony mentioned. When you look at the region, the issue is not infrastructure, the issue is not innovation, the issue is not legal and regulatory framework. The biggest challenge we have is what we call trade integrity. How do we trust each other? How do we have confidence in our service and products? That is the biggest challenge we have. That is the biggest hindrance. As Moses mentioned, I was working with Trademark, and we rolled out a number of infrastructure at the borders. We have all the ICT instruments and tools in place, but the mindset, I've been fighting with the customs office at the border, the standards office at the border. The tools are there, but they're not able to use them. So it's a mindset shift. It's not about infrastructure. It's no longer about the legal and regulatory framework. It's not about strategy, but our mindset, our trust and confidence we have amongst ourselves. That is a panacea. That's what we need to resolve. It's not now about the issues of the tools. It's about believing in ourselves. And I want to appreciate what Leah said. Jumia, they post Indian product, they post Chinese product. They can't post made in Africa. That's the way to go. How do we build our brand? Buy East Africa, build East Africa. That is the brand we need to put across. That is the song we should be singing as youth. That is one. Buy East Africa, build East Africa. Buy Africa product, build Africa. That is what we need to do. We need to work together. So I'm happy that when I joined the ABC, I've established two platforms. One, understanding the challenges of SME. We have now SME platform within ABC. Then also I brought Moses and Ivan platform within ABC. You read. That's why I've been going with Ivan across the region, sensitizing our policymakers that they need to embrace the youth innovation, youth initiative, youth in business. So that's what we are doing, and I'm happy that EABC is associating with UREAD and the government to champion the youth interest. That's critical. Having said that, there are certain preconditions that need to be put in place, and these are very important. One, as I mentioned, CFTA is a game changer, but to be a game changer, they need to streamline the trade information. That's very critical. And I know in the appeal it has there, but it needs to trickle down to SMEs. The information needs to trickle down to the youth, to the women. That's very critical. Trade information is a key, is a panacea for CFTA. The second that is very important, that is critical, is the issue of trade finance. And that's why I've been knocking also on doors. How do we simplify access to finance for the youth with innovative ideas, with innovative products? But they are challenged by the current financial instruments. They are not suitable to enable the youth benefit from the CFTA. The last component that is also very critical And I'm happy that the Honorable Minister from Rwanda, she did mention that. And again, this is the same message conveyed by Tony. Why do you shut down the internet, the YouTube? Huh? These are enablers for trade. These are enablers for trade. And that revolves around trust and confidence. Eh? If you have not done your work, then you have something you are shy of, you are hiding. These platforms are there to enable you to communicate, to trade, to do business, to do investment. I'm happy to say that when you look at Rwanda, and I want to really share with you, they have two innovative ideas that were crafted, established by youth. There is Irembo, where you submit your application. Irembo, it's a channel where you submit your application when you're applying for a passport. You submit it today, they give you information immediately, then they say they track your passport. In 2 days, you have your passport. That is the mindset shift. That is the enabler by the government. So whatever we are doing, the government need to put in place right environment, right infrastructure, and enable the youth to use those infrastructure. There is another one called Ihehe. We are now have currently one generally I think they are here, the Rwanda Convention Bureau, where they facilitate all the meetings, all the events seamlessly without any challenges. That is the kind of mindset shift that we are trying. It's not about infrastructure. It's not about big data that is required, but how do we work, how do we build a symbiotic relationship between government and business, have trust among each other. I'm happy to announce that EABC is currently working with Afrexim Bank in rolling out a product called MASA, and I encourage all the youth here to register under MASA platform. That is an enabler for you to trade under CFTA. Thank you, Moses.
Thank you, JB. Thank you, JB. As we conclude, we have one common question before we got to audience to have questions that are directed to our panelists and contributors. One question to panelists that are here: what is your ideal Africa that you wish to have, that you dream to have under CFTA? I will start with Mr. Tony. Just one sentence.
If you'll allow me, I'll just use it also probably as my closing remarks, just with a quote, just a quote. And this is a quote that I took from an interesting politician who said, "There is a new force of nature at hand. It is stirring all over the world. They are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed, who are angry and organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are the moral army. And the most we can do for them is to get the hell out of the way." I think that is all I can say in response to your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's basically repeating what we just said, that I think we need to move beyond these big agreements, actually break them down to implementation. And it's basically an urge to the national government that we don't have to wait until, like, when we have this kind of continental discussions, we have to start where we are right now. They all know right now what's not working for the young people. We need to start to address those that are not working. Thanks.
One sentence as we wrap.
Moses, this is a trap. One sentence. I think I will pick from what my good friend and brother, JB, just illustrated. Trust. Trust. If AfCFTA is going to work, then we need to trust that document. I do not work for AfCFTA Secretariat in Ghana. If I have opportunity, I will. But I want to say it is not just a mere document. It's a living document. I have read it to pieces. And I see that is the document that will leapfrog Africa to industrialization. Thank you.
Thank you. Flavia, what is the ideal? What's your ideal African that you wish to have under CFTA?
My ideal Africa would be an Africa that is inclusive and based on sustainable development. Thank you.
My idea is Africa which supports the youth, because the youth are the innovative and they can move Africa.
I'm sorry, Moses. It will not be one sentence, but an Africa driven by business, trade, and investment. For me, I believe business, trade, and investment is the prerequisite for us to have peace, is the prerequisite for us to have policies that work. Because until you've tried the business and you've seen this policy doesn't work, then you go to your policymaker and lobby them to change it. If I'm doing business with Diego in Rwanda and there's unrest in Rwanda, I can go to my president and say, I'm making $100 million from Rwanda. You need to say something and make sure Rwanda is stable. And that will happen because our livelihood is coming from that. So unless we strengthen our business, our trade and investment, we cannot move. And please, one more thing. Never, never in the history of Africa have doors been opened to us by government like we are in today. For after Secretariat to be here with us, I've been there to the office also at Ministry of Trade. They opened the doors. So we have to go and open those doors for ourselves and take those opportunities as a youth. Don't sit here and wait. And by the time we come next time also, there should be some businesses formed between us. Me and Diego will do business. Me and Tamara will do business. So next year when we come, there's 5 new businesses. Okay? So an Africa driven by business, trade, and investment. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, it's a united Africa, one Africa by Africans and for Africans.
I'll try to make it one sentence. For me, I want the AfCFTA to be for the young people and driven by the young people. If it's not driven by the young people, then the document will lack legitimacy. So I also want to encourage young people. You need to understand the agreement and try to position yourselves and take steps so that you can align your businesses and career with the AfCFTA objectives. Thank you.
Since you said one word, Moses, I think to me, Africa that is prosperous, we need to create jobs for the youth. We need to do whatever it requires to ensure everyone is employed.
Thank you. Mine, it is Africa that is borderless. Kemi, you can take us, but before, also give us your ideal African market. Then you take it to the audience.
Thank you for putting me on the spot like that. My ideal Africa is an Africa where youth have opportunities, real opportunities, and we take them. We don't sit down. All right, so we are a little bit hard-pressed for time, so I'm going to give only 2 opportunities to people in the audience. However, I see a lot of hands. I'm going to start with our online audience, because they've been sending comments, and I don't want them to feel like we are leaving them out. So let me start with our online audience. I'll start with a comment from a Mr. Oriema Edison from Bulisa, Uganda. He says, has AfCFTA Secretariat taken initiative to look into different rules of origin from all member states, and have they been adopted? I'm going to direct that one to Mr. Chidede. However, I'm going to request a very short answer.
Okay, I'll try to talk less. So we are finalizing the rules of origin at the moment, and we have made significant progress. We have managed to achieve about 87.3% of the rules of origin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that was a very direct answer. I hope, Edison, you got the answer you were looking for. I have another comment here from Isaac Amoa from Ghana. He says innovative ideas mostly start from the university level, but most youths want to have brilliant ideas to start up something, but the major problem or challenge is startup capital. In my country, Ghana, there are loans given to university students to pay their fees if they are needy. So my question is, can't African leaders use that medium, use that same medium to give startup loans to young people with a low interest rate to encourage them to enter entrepreneurship. All right, I'm going to direct that one to Mr. Otowa. I feel like this is your, go ahead.
So I'm also going to be very brief about this. You know, in the space that I work in, many young people are saying they're tired of being mentored. You know, all the time you have mentorship sessions, you have enterprise development sessions, but they're saying, show us or give us an opportunity to access funding in a very meaningful way, but also let us co-create this funding with you, the funding ideas of how we want it to come to us. So it doesn't make sense for you to approach funding for a young person with the mindset of the same funding that you have for an old person. My sister from Kenya, who employs 50,000 people, talked about the same yesterday when she was talking about, for instance, taxation. You're taxing, you know, a young person the same rate that you're taxing, you know, a proper grown adult. So I think we really need to come out with solutions and funds that can support young entrepreneurs in Africa. And again, let us localize the stories. Let us ask the people who have the money in our countries to be reasonable and share some of this wealth with the young people. We shouldn't be having Melinda and Belinda Gates coming to fund such issues when we have Dangotes and all these guys in Africa. We need to localize our story for our African youth. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see all right. I see a lady in white. You can go first. Can we give her a mic, please? Kindly make the question short.
I will, for sure. Members of the House, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Luri Tugusuk, South Sudanese living in Kenya. So my question is in regard to two particular institutional challenges. That is the commercialization by government, which seems to be taking over small and medium enterprises, and at the same time, capture by private institutions of small and medium enterprises. Now, in that case, how exactly is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement ensuring sustainability and independence of those medium, small and medium traders? And then when it comes to policy, policies are only as effective as the people understand them. And if we look at most of the small and medium business enterprises, they're owned by people in the rural areas. What is the communication framework that is trying to accommodate them as well so that they can tap on board without having any challenges? So kindly highlight that for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me go to this end. Hey, this end has so many hands. So gender equality, I give it to a gentleman, Sindio?
Yes.
All right, that gentleman in gray stripes. Let's give him a mic, please. He's over there.
Okay, thank you very much. Protocol observed. I have like 3 points and then I'll ask the question. It's just very short points. So the first point is, I'm from Tanzania, by the way, and I'm representing Innovate Hub as well as I'm the chairman of youth living abroad from Tanzania, meaning diaspora. So the first comment is, we give a lot of example from Jumia, which in Tanzania it failed. And one of the reasons why Jumia failed in Tanzania was market penetration. So one of the biggest challenge we're facing, and I'm talking about my country, I don't know about others, more specifically, is the market that we're serving do not have knowledge of what we're talking here right now. And this is the biggest challenge that we're facing. Like, we're trying to talk about empowering ourselves, doing businesses and everything, but people that we're serving don't even know what we're doing exactly. People don't even know what e-commerce is all about. And we have mentioned that we should provide access to internet so that people can have access to the information, but the true fact is that people don't even know where to get those information from. So I think I'll address this point to everyone responsible that let's figure out a way on how we can make sure that we provide the education that is needed to the right people, rather than just focusing on ourselves, because even most of us here, I'm not sure if we're all capitalizing on the e-commerce ourselves. So we should keep that in mind. And another point that was communicated by most of the speakers is that We had a lot of shutdown of Twitter, shutdown of Facebook. But yesterday night, one of our brothers spoke about a media that he started himself. I think it's from Burundi, if I'm not mistaken. We keep on talking about ideas of, I don't know, medias that are coming from abroad that we have to capitalize on, while ourselves in Africa, we're doing really great when it comes to ICT. And we can create one of the best technologies, or let's say medias that we can use ourselves. So why shouldn't we focus on ourselves, since we are working all together into creating something that we can use instead of waiting for Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or any other channels? We can use an example for a brother from Burundi. If right now we decide to stop using WhatsApp, or if we start working on something else.
Summarize.
Sure. So I think this is what I wanted to say. Like, let's give opportunities to ourselves and try to figure out how we can support each other rather than focusing on things that are abroad that we want to use as media for our progress as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see so many hands, and I wish I could give you the opportunity, but we are really hard-pressed for time.
I'm raising a matter of concern here. Raising a matter of concern. Thank you.
Who is speaking?
Raising a matter of concern.
Just a moment, ma'am.
Not a debate.
Just a moment, ma'am. I'm requesting that we hold that. Let's speak perhaps after. Just kindly. Let's try and keep within the time frame we've been given. I know you would all like to say something, and I wish we had the time, but these conversations will continue, yeah? All right. I'm going to go ahead, and perhaps, Moses, you could direct those specific questions to the specific people.
I think the question was from our delegate from South Sudan about communication in regard to SMEs, and our expert in CFTA, especially in involving stakeholders. You can react on it, Mr. Tayo.
All right, thank you. I'll keep it short. First and foremost, I think it is imperative we have an understanding when we are saying SME or MSME, regardless of the nomenclature we are using. There are categories of these SMEs. If you are employing like 5 or 6, and then it goes to like 10 or 12, and then it goes. All right? Now, looking at it from the AfCFTA, I have registered it. I do not work for the AfCFTA Secretariat, but I work for the National Action Committee on AfCFTA in Nigeria. So what do we do is to the fact that we conduct a research that we call SME aggregation. So it is this SME aggregation that allows us to see all the gaps of stratas of SMEs in Nigeria. And then we begin to position them to for a clear organizing themselves. So now, as we speak, those SMEs in those categories, they are now having opportunity in terms of access to finance, because we now become more or less their face and let them know that this category, they are in the urban, this category, they are in the rural, and then these are the assets or to finance that they can get. So I'm using that as a case study. However, let me say this, the AfCFTA agreement also gives a great leverage for SMEs. In the context of if you want to export a product, agreement says if you have a product less or equal to $5, you have your access to the market of AfCFTA. And that's why I said the other time that some of us, we do not see that AfCFTA agreement as a mere document. No, it is a living document that will leapfrog Africa to industrialization. Thank you.
Dr. Tokmo, you can sum it up.
Thank you very much. I just want to add to what Olu said. So we are also working on a private sector strategy. So what we are trying to do with this strategy is to make sure that we integrate small businesses, including the young entrepreneurs, into the value chain. And so we chose about 4 priority areas. And one of the areas that we have chosen is agriculture. So what we are trying to do with this strategy is to make sure that the rural businesses, agricultural businesses, and the young people, they are integrated into the value chains that are created by the AfCFTA. And some of the concerns that we are also talking about today, these are the things that we have done consultations at national level in preparations for the protocol on women and youth. So some of these things have come out, and we are going to table them to the member states during the negotiations to say this is the protocol that is supposed to address, and these are the concerns that have come out from the small businesses during our consultations. Thank you.
I know you have a lot of questions, but we have your solutions before you ask. I have engaged with Dr. Tokmo and JB so that we have an evening chat specifically on CFTA. So before Friday, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, we are going to have like an evening chat like we had yesterday with His Excellency. Then you can ask as many questions as you can.
All right.
Just a quick one, and this is a very interesting discussion, and I want again to appreciate the comment made by a delegate from South Sudan. CFTA is a wider continental market, it is a framework. But that framework needs to be cascaded down. Each country needs to prepare what we call export strategy. What is your entry strategy into CFTA? And I'm happy EABC, we are working with UNECA in terms of helping countries to shape their export strategy. The second important one is the market entry strategy. How do I join that market? That market entry strategy is very critical to know these are the requirements of the markets. So we need to engage, and this is the start. We are going to roll it out across all the partner states of the EAC. So my friend from South Sudan, I know the challenge you are highlighting, and these are very pertinent challenges, and we are happy to help you in terms of engaging and supporting you in terms of the trade finance and other instruments to benefit from CFTA.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kalisa. A warm thank you to all our panelists. We are very grateful for your time, for sharing your knowledge. Most of you I know are also part of the boot camp. We appreciate that. And I'm grateful to the audience as well, and to Moses, who has arranged for that chat, because I know there are so many burning issues you would all like to raise. On that note, we are going to head over for lunch. We're going to give it a solid 45 minutes. We do that, get back, and move on with our program. Thank you once again, and have a... All right. Yes, Ms. Tezra has brought up a very important point. Let's be back by 10 minutes to 2, please, so that we can have everything moving nicely. We also have our online audience, and we like for things to move in a way that they can also, follow. So 10 minutes to 2, let's be back here, and we can proceed. Thank you.
Navigate Africa through the incoming economic and political climates. Africa's youth are faced with growing concerns about
God, we thank you for this summit. We pray that it is a blessing to all of us. Let us all deliberate and make Africa a great continent and Africa the place that we call home and shine that light to the world.
I was wondering how best I could honor and include young people's concerns, challenges, and innovations within the 5 days of this year's summit. Luckily, the fears faded away by the time we commenced the work.
Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika, Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika,
Transformation of any young person will begin with a mindset change. As young people, we need to know and believe in the power of showing up. You need to show up. Participation is serious, necessary business.
You have to take initiative to do something small within where you are. As a young person, when you are leave that space for another young person like you.
The journey has been beautiful, and here together we are. I'm happy to say today, after 5 years of East African journey, we also are joined by an Africa-wide audience, an Africa-wide delegation from all the African regions.
Over 60% of Africa's population is under 25, making Africa the world's youngest continent. And what does that mean for us? It is also known that Africa is the richest continent in resources, and this includes human resources.
I wish you all a nice stay in Arusha and fruitful deliberations during your ULEAD Summit 2021.
We must replace fear with love, peace, joy, faithfulness, goodness, passions, creativity, innovation, and self-control.
We are going to make Africa very great. And I want to challenge all of us, here the youth, to follow Sharon and what she's thinking about this continent. And I think that is the way to go.
This is a very successful culmination of dedicated efforts of the ULEAD Consortium of Youth Serving Organizations and the ULEAD Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, education is central to the development and improvement of lives of young people who are the present and future of Africa. If you fail, you will have failed your generation. So this is the point I'm saying here. It means that young people are also held accountable for their actions. And for you young people, you must know you are representing your peers. If you don't perform, you are letting down your generation. In conclusion, allow me to borrow the words of a senior brother and a long-standing friend of mine, the late Kofi Annan, when he said, and I quote, "You are never too young to lead. You are never too young to do that which you believe in." You young people are going to change Africa. You are going to change the world for the better.
Your craft or your trade. And since leadership requires collective effort, work methodically and patiently through a problem, splitting it into various parts, remembering the diversities and nuances that may not be apparent at first glance. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, with this many remarks, allow me to declare the 5th East Africa Youth Leadership Summit officially open.